Hello and welcome. Welcome to another show. My name is Mark Schultz and welcome to Building Experiences with me, Mark Schultz. We're going to have a great session today. We're going to talk about a great topic, but I want to introduce a new guest to the show. James is part of the Adobe Australia team, and let's bring him on and let's say hello. G'day, James.
Hey Mark, how are you?
Doing all right, mate. Thank you for joining me.
Good, good. Hi everyone, my name is James Zhou. I'm the senior AEM solution consultant from Adobe, and I'm based in Sydney, Australia. Um, I think prior to the solution consultant, I was a delivery consultant at Adobe as well for many years. I have led many successful AEM projects in APAC. Glad to see everyone.
Yeah, you've been involved in quite a few projects. I love the fact that you put the word successful in there. Of course, they're successful, but
Yeah,
you know,
I led it.
it's good that you bring that real world experience into to what you're talking about today. So, look, I think we have a great topic. Let's get straight into it, shall we? All right, we had a lot of questions around working with decoupled experiences and headless content, and I thought I'd bring James on to talk about the enhancements that we're doing with content fragments, and really, the way that we enhanced the product and made it extensible. James, is that what you're going to talk to us today?
Yeah, definitely. I have to say, my background is a Java developer, and but in recent years I started doing a lot of application in a headless way.
Yeah,
So I'm glad that I can using a lot of capabilities provided by AEM to achieve delivering a headless application. So pretty cool. There are some features, some enhancements I want to share with if maybe you are the same developers like me, or maybe you're the front end developers. I'm pretty sure that you will find a lot of exciting features in it.
yeah, and if I think if you're new to Experience Manager and you're thinking, wow, I know Experience Manager has been around for some years. I heard it's very Java centric. There's a lot of improvements to remove the need to know anything about Java, right? And I think you're going to show some of that.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Any Java code today?
I promise I will not open any Java IDE and run any Java code in the demo.
Alrighty. So we're going to keep it front end friendly and just talk about what front end devs can do with the product and how you can also extend the product with the new UI, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's another topic I want to share, which is recently released in our cloud service offering. We call it Content Fragment Admin UI. Provide a alternative approach for people to focus on the creation of the headless content. And I can also show and share how you can extend it with your own business requirement.
Fantastic. All right. Well, look, let's get straight into it. I'll bring up your screen. We can get straight over to your presentation.
Oh, thanks, Mark. Um, Firstly, I prepared a few slides, but most of my content today is the real life demo. The slides here is just to help me to illustrate some technical details behind. So I'm going to cover three topics today. First one is the latest innovations on the AEM headless, and I will give a quick demo about what is the new Content Fragment Admin UI is all about. And then lastly, I will just show you how quickly you can extend this new Content Fragment Admin UI. So I'm going to start with this slide because many people know AEM because it's an enterprise level content management system. But you may also hear that there's no doubt AEM is also a hybrid CMS which support headless delivery as well. But in the headless world, I think there are three important parts that AEM puts the innovations in, which are content management, content delivery, and content presentation. So In the next 5 minutes, I want to quickly show you in the last maybe 6 months, what are the innovations we have put in this 3 area. So let's jump to the demo directly. This is a landing screen for AEM content fragment model. So for people who understand, who has already using the content fragment model is where you define the schema or the structure of your content fragments. So if I go into one of them, let's go just check this one. If I start to modify this, the first thing you will see is, because this is a content fragment already being used, and there's a pop-up tells you the model has been locked. Are you going to making the changes? Because when you're making the changes, it will impact the content fragment you already created. Let's say, yes, we want to. And then now, the familiar screen as well. But what you can also notice is we've added many new field types here, which allows you to add different types of the fields. For example, now you can differentiate the reference within your content fragment model. If you want to link it to an asset, I suggest you using the content reference. If you want to link this content fragment to another content fragment, I would suggest you start using this fragment reference. And in this fragment reference, for example, I've got the field over here. If I click them, I can not just define what are the root paths I can select, but I can also restrict what are the allowed content fragment models I want them to be linked to. And also, in order for the efficiency, you can allow the people start to editing or even to create this reference to content fragment from the same interface. So imagine the author, when they start to creating the new content fragment, they don't need to jump between the interface or go to different location. They can stay in this one screen and then finish all the authoring. The other part I want to highlight is, maybe this is one of my favorite, is we also allow you to embed the JSON objects in. So the JSON objects is pretty useful when you have, let's say, embedded JSON string within your content fragment. And especially when this JSON object is coming from the other system, this is like an easy way to store these attributes in the content fragment now.
Hey, James.
So, hi.
Just getting to this point, like, was there any coding to get to this screen? Like, how did you get to build this model editor? Like, assuming that I'm got a brand new environment that I can access, like, am I coding away? I know you promised no Java, but how did you get to this?
Cool. Yeah, that's a good question. So to create a content fragment model is really simple. All you need to do is go to the section, and we've got a tool icon over the content fragment model. And this lists out all the created content fragment model you have already got in the repository. You can create a folder, or you can select the folder you want. And you can start with simply using the create button, like you create a page. You give them a title. I'll give them a content fragment demo. And in 2-click time, we've got a blank schema. Now I can start drag and drop based on what the structures you want to define here.
Right. So that then would be a conversation between like a content author and a developer, right? So the content author knows what content they want. Developer knows what, they might want to have within an app they're building, etc. But there's no code, right? It's just all drag and drop.
Exactly. So the way I see this from the developer perspective, first, that there's no code related for me if I need to make the change to the schema. And then secondly, the way you author this, like I will show you later, because you can see how quickly you can get the content from this model by using our GraphQL API. So that streamlines your UX development. So you can see the data, the schema of the data come here to define the schema. And then immediately you can start consuming this data once you create them. So that I would say, in my vision, this is the time you spend on developing, deploying can be shortened, because it's all out of the box now.
That's great.
All right. So assuming we've already got a content fragment model defined, the next thing we're going to do is using this model to create the content. So I've got the some folder here. So I can start using the create button and just picking the model I just authored, making the changes. I can build them. So content fragment is not a new feature for the latest version. This feature has been in AEM for many years, but we still got a little innovations or enhancements on this window just to make your life easier. The first thing you can do is now you've got a link directly to your model. If you want to make changes, you want to see what the model defined, that's the way to go. We've also provide we call the structured tree, because now we notice sometimes you will have a very complicated content fragment model, and that allows you to quickly navigate in between the different types or different fields. And no doubt to mention that we've got the great support for referencing different content fragment. So you can, if I'm going to define a new adventure with a new location, I don't need to go back to the asset interface and then using the wizard to create a new one. I can simply just click the button here, and then that will give me the wizard, and I can select where I want to store this new content fragment model, and as well as going to edit that content fragment over there. So I call this little innovations very efficiency focused, because what we want to do is we provide the content author who is focused on the content fragment creation a really efficient interface to use to manage the content they want to create. All right. Next thing I want to show you is what we called the GraphQL Explorer. So similarly, next to the content fragment model window, we provide you a query editor for the GraphQL. So again, you will find this interface still under the AEM instance we are playing with. And on the left panel, you will see a lot of persistent queries you have already defined. And for everyone's information, GraphQL is really efficient in terms of the fetching the content fragment or the headless content in an efficient way. For example, if you want to retrieve some information about the adventure content fragment model we just defined, you can simply using this query, and then this interface allow you to easily troubleshooting and manipulating the query that you want. And the power of the GraphQL is you can not just define what objects you want, and also define what attributes from this objects you want to retrieve from that. So by simply changing the attributes here, and you may notice we've got a really good auto completion over here that helps you to define the attributes or the fields from these objects you want to retrieve. And you can start testing them. Now you can see that the attributes in the result getting changed. The document here is auto-generated. We inspected the content fragment model you define and auto-generate this model for you so that you can easily navigate and find out and how to construct a good GraphQL for your consumption. I call it, this is a very good interface for the front-end developers if they're trying to get some data from the content fragment. And also from the performance perspective, once you get the query defined, what you're going to do next in the GraphQL world is you want to make it persist. You're going to provide a robust cache for this query, and then all this already been done by AEM. So if I've got this query, let's say I'm going to have I'm going to copy this one. I want to create a new persist query. So I paste it here. To add another, there's a multi-string. Okay, I added another simple field, trip length. and I give a try. I'm happy with the result. And I can simply using the Save As button to say this is for James query. And now we got a persistent name, the query called the James query. So whoever who want to using the same schema or the same payload of this query can start referring to James query. And I can also, once I'm happy with that, I can publish. So now in 2 seconds, this persistent query is ready to go. So whoever have the access to an AEM instance now be able to consume this query. And also, in addition to that, you can define a header. What is the cache behavior, the TTL of the named query can be also defined in this interface. So super powerful functions for the people who want to quickly launch or create a query and then let the consumers to be able to consume the content fragment we created. Super cool, right? Next
That's
one,
very cool.
I want to show you is a big innovation. So again, let me go back to this interface. So you may notice we've got a new icon here called Content Fragment. Of course, this is the place you want to manage the content fragment. But when you click that, that gives you a different interface. And this is the interface we call the Content Fragment Admin UI. And the reason why we created this is because imagine there's a scenario that you're starting using the content fragment model to create more and more content fragment in your system. And you will end up with hundreds of the thousands of the content fragments in it. So we need a different way, or we need a efficient interface for those kind of author behaviors can be conducted. You can definitely use in the asset one. Actually, one of our customers, they have got 150,000 content fragment in the system. Imagine how hard for them to be able to get a big team to manage them. So that I think that's the main reason that Adobe create this new interface.
Yeah, and James, everything I think you've shown up till now has been available for managed services customers on 6.5 as well as cloud service, right? But this is cloud service unique, correct?
Yes, that's what I'm about to say, because what I want to highlight here is if you can see this URL, now this URL is no longer pointing to a specific AEM instance. And I'll show you what's the magic behind, like how we achieve this. But first, let me just quickly run through what you can do with this UI. So apparently, you can still stick with the old approach. You're using this photo structure to navigate it. But you can also using the smart search now. So we can refine by the fragment models you want to filter, and you can also filter by the user, by the data range, as well as you can also using this customer table to show and hide what kind of volume, the fields you want to, or the attributes of the content fragment. So this provides you, I would call it like a one-stop experience for the content fragment author to manage, to do their day-to-day work. And when you hover or select one of them, you will see we allows you to open, which allows you to directly edit this content. And you can quickly even publish or do a schedule publish. And I know that to say you can copy, move. So these are the functions we're trying to add it in this UI, because we see this is going to be the main interface for the headless content creator to use day to day. And one of my favorite features is called a save the search. So that allows me to define. So similar to the concept we had for the smart collection, but that allows me to define a virtual workspace to be able to focus on, hey, I'm going to looking at all the, I'm a content approver, just to show me in the last 30 days or last 7 days, how many contents been approved, been created, been published. So provide like this interface give a lot of a possibility for the personas who is getting engaged with the content fragment content every day. So pretty cool features. And I'm going to jump to my slide a little bit because I'm going to uncover what happened behind. So you may see that that interface in my browser, but this is where in high level how this is being constructed. So the first thing you may heard this word, which we call a unified share. Unified Share now is being applied to all the Adobe Experience Cloud products. And what this provides you is first quick navigations to different products, but also provides you the login context, your profile, your permissions, etc., and then which instance you're allowed to go. And on the body part, we call it the Headless UI. It's a content in this case, it's a Content Fragment Admin UI, and it's actually a Adobe app loaded within this unified share. And from the URL or from the context which is stored in the unified share, this UI be able to call the right AEM instance and then fetch the content you want. So that means it's actually a multi-tenant UI. So is behind the scene, it's actually leveraging the GraphQL core to your AEM tenant and be able to perform the functions of the content fragment. So this is really good because now we can just launch and making changes on this headless UI, and then all the people who is using that content fragment UI will get benefits from that. Tomorrow we launched a new function, we added a new link. You don't need to redeploy your AEM instance and then in order to receive that change. It's become a SaaS service. And what happened behind the scene? Okay, I think I stop a little bit. So this is a good model for a common interface which we want that all the customers want to use. But because it's no longer require a code deployment, so you don't need to commit the source code and making changes. It's leaving the logic is in a multi-tenant code base. But we still have the requirement in terms of I have my own workflow which is different with any other tenant. So how can I embed this business logics in this interface in a multi-tenant environment so that I can make sure my author can see some specific functions while the other guys, they don't have permissions, they don't want, they will not be able to use it. And then that's the reason why we create this framework we call the UI extensibility. And a very typical use case for this UI extensibility is to apply it on the Content Fragment Admin UI. So imagine, we're going to encapsulate all this code logics into something we call an extension. And for people who is following our technologies, you may have heard Adobe I/O or Adobe I/O runtime. So you can consider it. This is a serverless placeholder which you can store your business logics in. You can deploy it in, and then we can encapsulate it as an extension. And then now what we need to do is how can I tell this multi-tenant UI to be able to load the right extension when the people is using my AEM tenant. So that's in high level, the flow is like when the UI has been loaded by the unified share, we have something we call the registry services here. And registry services be able to locate it, the right extension we want to load it for this specific tenant. And then once the UI body is loaded, he will find, okay, there are actually an extension over here. And then I can, this is the way we can embed it, some personal, your own business logics in this UI. So in high level, there are going to be 3 things you can do within that extension. So you can build your custom logic. For example, you want to tracking something on that content fragment UI. You can just adding some logic, adding some logs. And also you can extend that UI a little bit by just providing additional button or additional link, which I can explain you later. And then no doubt to say, you can also make the server-side call so that you can easily integrate with your own business system. And in a nutshell, so this is how it works. This is the UI we're talking about, the multi-tenants, and this is the extension point you define over here so that it can load the right extension from this extension registry services. And then in order to support people to create this extension easily, our engineers already published some extension template which I'm excited to show you in the next 10 minutes. Okay, before I go into my demo, I want you to remember there's 2 extension points we currently allowed in the Content Fragment Admin UI. First, we call the head menu. So over here, you can do a bit of like a UI extension. You have your own link or functions over here. And the second one we call the action bar. That's where when you have already selected a content fragment, you can also customize some of the link over there. All right, keep that in mind. I'm going to jump to my demo and show you how easily you can create the extensions in this multi-tenant UI.
Let's do it. I'm excited.
The first thing you want to do is, like I said, because you want to store this in the Adobe I/O, so you're going to go to the Adobe I/O, we call it development console, so you can create a project. Like I said, we already got an app builder template for you, so you can just simply provide a name and you can just save it. So I just create one for this demo. So I call it UI extension. So as you can see here, this provides you 2 workspace whenever you create an app within the Adobe I/O. So the stage and the production is obviously for you to be able to test your changes, and then you will be able to deploy your extensions into these 2 workspaces. And in order to do that, we're gonna have our terminal here. So we're going to use a tool called the AIO command line plugin. For those of you who is already using Cloud Manager or Cloud Services, you may be familiar with this one. But for everyone's context, AIO is you can see it's an application developed by Adobe engineer that allows you to programmatically communicate to Adobe products. Not just the AEM, but also Cloud Manager or Target or Analytics. So the first thing I would do is using a command called AIO login. So in this case, this tells me what my login status, because I need to retrieve some the options or the templates in real time. So this indicates I already logged in and I'm in the right org and I'm in the right projects. So next thing I will do is I'm going to init I'm going to give them a different one, James extension. So this will kick off a wizard which allows you to select the template or the projects you created for your extension. So in order to do that, I need to first answer some questions, make sure I'm in the right organization. And as you can see, it's happening in real time because I'm logged in. It's using this token to dynamically retrieve what I can create or where I can store this. So yes, I'm going to create a UI extension. I'm going to do all the extension points. And then now you can see there are 3 available templates already defined. You can definitely add your one if you follow some that we have documents for you if you want to create your own template. So I'm using space to select the Content Fragment Admin UI extension. And now it's step by step for you to initialize the skeleton of extension projects. So this is real-time demo. So it's going to take some time to download the dependencies.
And some backing music. So, just waiting music while we wait.
So what happened next is it will try to download the definition of this template, because within this template, I still need to provide additional information. For example, what is the name for this one? And also potentially I can use this wizard to define how many extensions I want to extend here. Cool. Here we go. So now we come into the wizard of this template. So first you want to name that. I call it James extension. This is a UI extension. Version, of course. Now you are able to select. Remember at the last two slides I showed you. Now you're able to select what are the extensions you want to add it. So of course I want to add all of them. So I first add a label for the button, action button. Do I need to pop up a window when I click it? Yes, maybe. And I can also multi-select if I have a multiple action bar or multiple head menus on here. So menu link. Yes, of course. Now, once you finish or define all the extension you want to build, just click I'm done. So now that you finish answering all the questions from the template will kick off and then start initializing the skeleton of this. So for everyone's time, I've just to show you what is this. I've got my demo extensions because I already built some business logics in. So this is what you get after the template finished working. And I want to highlight three parts here because remember on the slides, I said there are three things you can do in this extension framework. One is customer logic, second is the UI, and third is the server-side API call. So I'll first start with this environment file. So this actually defined where this extension will be deployed to. Remember, the projects were created in the development console. So this is automatically retrieved, and this token is also dynamically refreshed because of this AIO plugin. And then now, if I go into the source folder, and you can see I actually define three Adobe I/O action here, which is a server-side call. So what it does, so actually I create my logic trying to get the language copies of my content fragment. And not just that, I should be able to manage, can publish or unpublish these language copies if I'm happy with the master and also the language copy. So I built up this logic because I want to simplify the workflow for my content authors to create language copies for my content fragment. So I'm using this the JavaScript language to make the call to my AEM tenant to be able to retrieve not just the content fragment, but also the language copy of that. And also in here, so this is server-side logic, you can make the call on that. And if you also coming back to the web resource part, and then this is where you define the rest of the two parts, which is the UI bit. So here, the most important file is we call extension registration services. So in here, you can see these are the questions we answered while we're creating these projects using the template. What is the button? What is the name? What can I do with it? So you can see, I can define some logic. I can add some client-side logic, getting the log tracking. And also, I can provide a UI, which is a model dialog for, I think this is the model that I'm about to show you. So I can also provide some UI. And also, remember, this is actually, by the way, this is using the React behind the scene. This is a little bit different with what you usually do with AEM, what we call the Cora UI. I personally think this is much simpler because it's for everyone who understands React. This is just the React logic. And you kind of like if you're interested, you still can spend time to learn the Cora UI. But this means even you don't know the AEM kernel knowledge about the my UI framework, you can still build these extensions by yourself. And then all the JavaScript function here, it's just the standard React. So now I've got this logic built up. And next thing I'm going to do is going to test this. So in order to test this one, I'm going to swap this. You're going to use in a command called AIO app run. So what it does is it will initialize a standalone server, web server on your local under the port 9080. And then now what the UI extension frameworks allows you to do is, remember we called about something called the registration services. So without registering this extension to Adobe, you can first do some local testing. And in order to do that, I come back to my browser. So I'm going to provide some additional parameters, which are these two parameters. So if you can focus on the browser's the address bar here, I provided two extra parameters. One is called demo to true. Second one is where the extension is. So now I point into the extension to my local host. So once I click refresh, so what happened is the unified shell will kick in, but because he understands from the parameter, this is a dev mode, and it's going to load some extension from a local host server. So that code will be fired from your browser to your local host. And as you can see, after refresh, I got an additional menu here. And even when I click, I should click one with the language copy over here. And I can see an additional action bar. And if I click this, this is where your customer UI loaded. And then it's spinning, means it's making calls to my real AEM instance. And then now I get the language copy. And I can quickly publish it and unpublish. So imagine you can just not only just do it with the language copy, you can build whatever logic once you select one content fragment, and you can retrieve either the referenced one or based on some logic. So that this can all happen within this customized UI now. And also,
Hey, James.
I'm not making any changes. Hey,
So I think that's a good point to talk about some, what are the possibilities? What can you do with this, right? So you've gone through how to extend, and you showed a great example with the language copy management there. But let's just quickly talk about some different scenarios where you might want to extend the UI, right? Can you think of
well,
some?
yeah, definitely. I mean, when I show these features to my customer, and immediately they've got the feedback is, can we do this workflow in here? Because, for example, you have your offer creation for your campaign,
Yep.
and you wanna create a offer here. But after you create an offer, you also want to, let's say, talk to a work from the API to trigger some creation of the work
Hmm.
and then kick off some workflow. That's all possible within this UI now, because and this UI is belong to yourself. This is one example. And also, when you have, for example, when I create another typical example, we were so proud of is what we call the content velocity. After I create a content fragment, I can automatically create some experience fragments based on what I created. And then once it's been approved, you can just click that button, and then that ban is all automatically triggered
Yeah.
and the creation of the experience fragment. And then these experience fragments can be ready to go for usage for your personalization. So
Yeah.
I would say the limit here is just your imagination. How
Hmm.
would you want to build your customer logic here? And I should also say, although there are only like two extension points here, but we're going to add more and more extension points to allow you to customize, to personalize this interface for your usage.
So this becomes the standard way of extending Experience Manager going forward, just in JavaScript. Don't have to know any Java. So we haven't shown any Java. It's all JavaScript front end, and it's using React skills, right? So if you know React, you know how to bootstrap the project now. It should be pretty easy. It's just
Yeah.
working out what APIs you want to call and go from there.
Yeah, I would say as a people who working with AEM for many years, this definitely gives when you do the solution design, when you do technical design, this gives you the alternative way while you can manage some code logic. And this code logic may, I would say, we still support the out of box, the workflow, the slim model bundles. You can still do that, but this gives an alternative way, and you should decide by what the business want, like, and how you would like to manage this. Remember, this is a multi-tenant approach, and you still got your ad hoc AEM approach. So these are both available. So you can still
Yeah,
using the Java bundle. You can using the JavaScript extension.
yeah, good to know. Are you any more for the demonstration you want to show?
Yeah, I want to show you the last
Sure.
mile for this, which
Okay.
is to make it live. So once it's once you test it, the next thing you're going to do is you can do a method called app deploy. So what it does is, if I go back to my cloud here, so you remember this is stage workspace. So after you run that method, it will be deployed into this workspace. So that means you can hand over to your QA team for testing purpose, right? And the same, in order to test that without running on your local, similar concept, just replace this extension parameter with the stage environment URL. So you can do it. And then let's say QA is fine, business stakeholder sign off. The next thing you want to do is just to make it live, because you don't want your content author to remember these long parameters whenever they want to making changes. So Adobe I/O provide a good management in terms of if you want to release this. So if I go back, swap to my production. So you can see I've already got something over here. And then if I click submit for approval, that means once I deployed my extension into the Adobe I/O projects, and you sign off all the testing, and then you can submit for approval. Provide some descriptions, and then submit. After you press submit, your administrator will receive a notification on the this may be something you heard of. It's called Adobe Exchange. So Adobe Exchange is the place you can manage all these applications you publish and you manage. So because I just put a request, and you can see this request coming in. So I'm the admin. I'm happy with that. And I just say approved. Once you click the approved button, that means this extension is successfully registered in that registration service of the extension. And that also means your content author, so I can get rid of all these parameters just using the same one I had. And your business logic, your custom extension will load up here. Then it's live. It's live in my cloud service environment. So now you can see it's quite different with the way you're doing the deployment using the pipeline. And I call it, that's one of the other features of the extension framework that you can have. So you can also leverage your own CI/CD framework, doing all the testings, and then at the end you just need to approve it. And also, if you don't like it, you can just come back to that window, just revoke it, and then that logics will not be loaded. So how easy is it?
That's exciting. I really like the fact that you're not actually changing any of the core experience managers. So if there's updates and changes, you don't have to worry about any breaking changes, your code conflicting with the core. It just makes it a lot easier, and you don't have to worry about any of the normal pains around garbage collection and memory usage, etc. It's completely separate. It's just combined at the UI, right? So
yeah. That's in the last slides of my deck is I just want to share some personal thinkings of this UI framework. So we will talk about the potential use cases. Like I say, you will create your own, no doubt. But from the operation perspective, it definitely gives you an independent release cycle from AEM now. So you can manage some business logic, which you think is appropriate to put into the UI framework by yourself. And the speed of the rollout and the rollback, it's just super faster, right? I did it in 10 minutes. I create an extension, I make it live. So, and also, you had my words. I didn't touch any Java code. No offense to the Java developers, but the purpose here is to get a lot of people who has the skills to be able to making changes for your business on top of the AEM platform. And that's what we want to see. I'm using a few plugin and just to modify the JavaScript code, and I get the logic to life. So at the end, the way I vision this is this approach allows the AEM, the owner of the AEM, to focus on what kind of the API, what kind of the way we can provide the data, provide the content, and then let the consumers to be able to easily get it, and then let them to play with it. It's like a decouple of the presentation versus the content itself. So I call it a very excited features. We just launched it, I think 3 or 4 months ago, but I can see this is just the first wave. We're gonna add, like Adobe, gonna add more and more extension points over here. So
Yeah, that's
stay tuned.
exciting. Mate, thank you again for sharing that with us. And I think just to point out, we've been kind of shying away from talking about Java like it's a bad thing. It's not, right? I mean, we're not saying Java's bad. We're not saying what you do in Java is bad at all. The intent is to be able to extend the amount of people who can actually be involved in customization, when Java development skills are scarce. So um, that's definitely feedback we've had, but we've also had some AEM core developers who've been working with the product for years going, what's going on? The sky is falling. It's like, no, there's both happening there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah. And you being a Java developer as well, from a skills transfer, like how, any tips around if someone's used to developing with AEM and they're new to app builder and IO, etc. What should you look out for?
Well, we definitely have a lot of good documents for you to follow step by step the
Hmm.
tutorial. And also, I would say the plugin, the AIO plugin, and also the extension template has covered a lot of the foundational functions you may need to build up your business logic. And for
Yeah.
me, it's just first you have to find out the right use cases to apply on that. You don't want to abuse these functions to be able to like do something you don't want.
Yeah.
And also, secondly, is to build up this logic is pretty simple, right? And then that's what the intention for this framework. You can focus on the business, the value
Yeah.
that's you created for your extension, and and then lower down the bar for the technical, like, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah. Agreed.
I feel like um, a good extension will be a collaboration between the JavaScript developer and the AEM developer, right?
Hmm.
Because you don't want to make a multiple calls in a extension, because then you can coordinate with your Java developer. Hey, let's just expose an API over here, or
Hmm.
let's just build on something on top of there. And
Yeah.
also the same scenario, we can in the AEM platform, you have the events, you have listeners. Now you have another um, consumer or producers. Sometimes you can produce events. So how are you going to communicate with the AEM platform? I think that's uh, where your creative work, your talents will goes in. We just help you to avoid spending time on like a troubleshooting this
Yeah.
button not show up or model, yeah. So
Yeah.
that's what I see this UI extension framework will goes to.
Yeah, and I think, I was just thinking as well, the fact that we're developing out of process means that, if there's any code freezes, etc., to your core environment, you can still develop on the side. And, as you're previewing against a production environment, but you're not affecting the production environment. So you can have everything ready, staged, ready to go, and then roll out when appropriate time. So from a developer perspective, it's like, oh, this is so much more freedom, right? And allows you to just be a bit more agile. So,
Mm.
yeah, great. All right. Well, look, we're getting close to the end, so I think we need to wrap up. So, James, first of all, I want to say, big thank you for sharing such wonderful knowledge. I think if you're new to content fragments and the Headless API, you took us through that, but as well as the new admin UI as part of cloud service, and also, not just saying here's what Adobe gives you, but if you want to extend it, go nuts. So I think really keen to see what people build and what extensions there are. I think there could even be a parallel to like AEM Commons in the future, where we see a lot of extensions being shared. And if you're watching this, don't be afraid to share a Git repo, with an extension that you built and you want to share off with everyone. Love to see that. But James, any last words before we wrap up?
Well, I would say for people who hasn't started using the content fragments, or you already start using content fragments, content fragment is one of the best things you should think for your headless delivery. And I'm here. You can just reach Mark if you have any question about content fragment.
Sounds good. Great. All righty. Well, look, that's it for today's show. And we just posted the next one in the series. So we have Zoran returning back to talk about using Adobe Target with single page applications and Experience Manager. Lots of stuff going on there, but it's going to be another exciting session. That's in about 3 weeks from now. So my recommendation for everyone, if you haven't done so already, hit that subscribe button. It's not a YouTube show unless you plug your own subscribe button. And, love to get your feedback as well. So either in the comments, what type of content would you like to see on this channel? James, can we get you back in the future to share something else?
Will do. Thanks.
Great. All right. Well, thanks again. Thanks, everyone. And we'll see you next time. Bye.